This is Team Trash2Cash's presentation for the USAID Innovation and Diversity Engagement Awards case study competition. Here you can see an overview of our team, starting with Kainoa. She is a recent graduate from BYU in 2021 and is currently working in Hawaii in the environmental conservation field. Next, we have Chloe Beddoes, who is a recent graduate from UCLA, preparing for law school, and is interning with TDP Data Systems. Next is Cannon Gardner, who graduated BYU in 2018 and did genetic research at Max Planck Institute for Chemical Ecology and currently runs TDP Data Systems Analytical Advisory Services. Then we have Joe Miller, who graduated BYU in 2019 in statistics, and he currently runs TDP Data Systems Data Science team. And lastly, we have Mahina, who's a current student at BYU from Hawaii studying civil engineering, and she currently interns at the state of Utah, Central Utah Water Conservancy District.
To quantify the problem, we used existing data provided by reputable sources to calculate 1. The environmental, 2. The economic, and 3. Social problem statements in the Philippines from now projected to the year 2030. Environmentally, about 5.25 trillion pieces of plastic float in our oceans, according to National Geographic. Our models estimate the Philippines alone will contribute 1/3 of all plastic entering the ocean at a whopping amount of 32.6 million metric tons of plastic through 2030. Economically, if 1 metric ton of plastic equals about $33,000 in economic costs, our models show that plastic from the Philippines will be equivalent to about $1.08 trillion over the next 7 years. Socially, large wage inequalities exist. Women picking up plastic make $69.70 a month, while men make double that at $128.30 a month on average. Women are also exposed to pollutants and face reproductive health issues due to the nature of the job. With these problem statements quantified by specific numbers, we turned to qualify a proposed solution process.
Here is our proposed solution for a proof of concept test for reducing oceanic plastic coming from the Philippines and providing equitable payment to women and children waste gatherers. Our first point of strategy will be to negotiate standardized pricing for products collected with recycling plants and upcyclers, for instance like Coca-Cola's new Peat Value venture. From here we can set standardized pricing for collection regardless of gender and age. In regards to reducing oceanic plastic, rivers are the highway network for these plastics to enter the ecosystem, with the Pasig River being a leading culprit. For our proposed oceanic plastic capture approach, we have chosen these 3 locations based on 2 main criteria. 1. The geography of the river. As the river flows, it will force the plastic to the outer boundary of the river for easier collection at these specific locations, and 2, along specific barangays where these waste gatherers live. From these locations, we can install non-invasive plastic capturing technologies. Non-invasive meaning not blocking the barge traffic of the river, in partnership with a British Ecuadorian startup called Ichthyon. Nearby these 3 capture points, we will have collection sites for a blind drop, meaning that the person paying the individual for the plastic collected cannot see them, removing any biases. We will also supply PPE for those participating in the program with things like waders, gloves, masks, etc., to begin to mitigate the negative health consequences from working in these conditions. As the plastics are bought from the waste gatherers, we will then send the plastics to partner organizations for recycling and upcycling, and the remaining waste that has been pulled from the river will get piled onto a barge, which then can float down the Pasig River and sent up to the Novatus landfill along the Bay of Manila. Here we can see a graphical representation of potential ecosystem partners. On the left side of the screen and the upper right-hand side of the screen, we can see potential partners to support the proof of concept test. This includes companies for data collection and analysis, the river waste collection, and upcycling and recycling. In the bottom right-hand corner, we've identified potential ecosystem partners for a long-term self-sustaining strategy. We want to tackle the Philippines' plastic pain points at the core, and we identified a few technologies to help us do this. One is Notpla. This is a British startup who's developed algae bioplastic sachet alternatives. While the Philippines is a sachet economy, especially in the barangays where these waste gatherers live, we want to create environmentally friendly packaging for their small quantity of goods that they buy for a day or 2 at a time. We've also identified bagasse as an alternative packaging material for single-use plastics. This is a byproduct of sugarcane. And lastly, we want to improve the recyclability of plastics. And so Carbios is a French startup that uses enzymatic depolymerization of plastics to create an unlimited time of plastic can be recycled. It breaks it down to the monomer core. Um, this creates plastics to be more like aluminum, and it also allows for less virgin plastics to enter the ecosystem to begin with.
Our community engagement approach is focused on 4 areas. First, NGOs who facilitate on-the-ground surveys of local communities. Second, the fishing industry. The severe effect plastics have had on reefs and marine ecosystems has in turn affected the health of marine wildlife, leading to fishermen catching more plastics than fish. Which transfers into our third area of travel and tourism. With the poor health of marine ecosystems and local coastlines littered with trash, the travel and tourism sector has seen a negative impact on revenue generated from nature-based tourism. Lastly, within our government entities, one of our focuses is to close the wage gap between men and women by increasing the pay for women waste gatherers. Recently, Victor Limlingan Jr., member of the Philippines national government, stated, "The plastic waste issue the Philippines faces is a real and persistent issue that needs timely solutions, such as what this team is proposing."
Our steps for implementation begin with surveying the waste gatherers. In order to crowdsource ideas and pain points from those most familiar with the process. From there, we will analyze this collected data and adjust the strategy accordingly. We may repeat this process as needed. Then we will move on to the proof of feasibility study, where we will evaluate how the strategy will be fully implemented from finance to organization to marketing and community education. For the next step, proof of concept is an ecosystem test on a limited scale, whose results, if deemed satisfactory, prove that the proposed method works and will allow us to move forward in securing funding. Once this is done, we will be able to begin scaling up and deploying the proposed solution on a larger scale.
Integrated into our solution are aspects of monitoring, evaluation, and learning. We'll monitor and track waste collection pulled from rivers by using a plastic to other waste ratio and collected elsewhere by tracking our payments to the workers. We'll evaluate environmental impact by tracking the plastics recovered over time and heat mapping the regions where the program is having the most impact and success. We'll evaluate economic impact by using our models to track environmental economic impact and also geographically analyzing the regions where the most success is being had. We'll then track social impact through follow-on surveys around health improvements, quality of life, wage equity, and overall work safety and conditions. All of this will be brought into a feedback loop that will allow us to take lessons learned from the evaluation section and run a post-mortem analysis on what worked and what didn't and how future success can be enhanced in a mini white paper format. Why will we be successful? Our solution will allow us to raise the pay that the average waste gatherer receives of roughly 30 Filipino pesos per kilogram of plastic at a junk shop to approximately 45 pesos per kilogram. This will drastically reduce the amount of plastic needed to be collected to reach minimum wage levels to roughly 13 kilograms per day. We have experience developing strategies and running proof of feasibility studies in the region with our Global 2000 corporate clients. We've implemented our process over 10,000 times with data pulled from TDP Data Systems' proprietary database, which contains vast amounts of data in different domains. This data is overlaid with more than 100 algorithms that allow us to be more efficient and accurate to sort through data, and gives us a turnkey solution to collect, aggregate, and analyze new data for this use case. We have a network in the Philippines that consists of consulting firms, venture capital firms, Rotary clubs, and Nissan Chemical Corporation, which is a Southeast Asia Global 2000 corporation. Our proposed ecosystem is built to be self-sustaining and readily scalable.
This is our budget breakdown. Here we detail our expenditures for surveying and advertising, lead organization, drop site expenses, upcycling, and data and advisory.
And lastly, here you can see the citations referenced in this presentation. Thank you for your time.